All right. So the goal of this panel is to inform, inspire, and motivate you, all of us, to engage in just money reform work in the organizations and with the constituencies that you are part of. And we think that by hearing examples of such work that AFJM members are already doing with constituencies, either outside or within, or that need to grow within AFJM, that we all can better imagine yourselves doing so in the coming year and beyond. So it's crucial, I think we all know, for the Alliance to be reaching ever more diverse constituencies if we ever hope not only to build a movement, but actually to achieve just money reform. You may not know that AFJM is designed as actually a membership organization, not only for individuals, but also for room for organizations, whole organizations to join. So any and every group that you are a part of is welcome. It might be from unions, religious groups, political parties, civic associations, chambers of commerce, city or town councils, municipal leagues, which exist at the state level, neighborhood organizations, professional associations, advocacy groups on myriad issues, whether it's environmental, social justice, local economy issues, healthcare, schools, universities, cultural, artistic, so on. So you know the groups you're a part of. And the question is to stimulate you to think about those organizations that you're involved with, that you realize you could and want to bring information on just money reform to, and then to imagine yourself through the stories shared by panelists who are already doing that, to imagine yourself doing so as well. Each panelist will share somewhat briefly, 5 minutes or so, give or take for different ones. And then we hope to have about 20 minutes left for Q&A at the end. I encourage you to, keep in mind your questions as we go. Maybe don't actually hit post in the chat till towards the end, just so we can pay attention, all of us, but definitely there'll be time for questions at the end. So without further ado, I'm going to stop and ask John Howell from Athens, Ohio, to take over on his work with the League of Women Voters.
Okay, so this is just to let you know about some local work that I've been doing here with the League of Women Voters on monetary reform issues. And so I wanted to share that with you. What I did was back in May of 2020, I made a proposal to the local league that the local league should initiate a consideration of the current monetary system and its relation to social and economic problems of traditional league concerns. This was a substantial document. It was 3,000 words long. It outlined the position I was suggesting people take, the background, rationale, steps to be taken, and so on. And so I passed this out to the board of the local league. Some of them, I think, read at least part of it. And one of the things that was in it is this position statement. So what I was proposing is that the league initiate a consideration of the issue of the monetary system, its effects, good and bad, on the economy and social values espoused by league positions, articulated in their volume called The League of Women Voters of the United States, A Guide to Public Policies, 2018 to 2020. So I was linking this directly to the league's interests. So for instance, from the rationale section, I pointed out that the League is committed to democracy. Some of you may not know much about the League of Women Voters, and they're now open to men as well as women, which is how come I can be a member. And it's a 100-year-old organization, started out with the interest in terms of promoting women's rights, particularly with regard to voting. And they have become an organization that's a 501c4. It's a lobby organization, and it has a lobbying presence in Washington, D.C. But it's made up of local chapters around the country. So it's committed to democracy. A lot of the work that it does is around elections and offering candidates forums, one of the things that we do locally, and it's done around the country, and to inform voters about the candidates and the issues that the people have to vote on. So I pointed out that Brandeis is a well-known quote, "We must make our choice. We may have democracy or we may have wealth concentrated in the hands of few, but we can't have both," and made the point that our current monetary system acts as a major vehicle of wealth concentration. Second thing was, it's interesting that the League has a statement about privatization of government functions. What it says in there is the League believes that when governmental entities consider transfer of governmental services to the private sector, community impact and goals of such transfers must be identified and considered. The League believes that transparency, accountability, and preservation of the common good must be ensured. And so, you say, well, what do you think? How transparent and how accountable is the present monetary system? What do you know about it? A third idea was that the League, of course, is committed to the idea of that the government should meet basic human needs. It's also committed to climate change and so on. So it gave an opportunity to talk about the fiscal implications of monetary reform. And finally, the interesting things here is that the League has a position in which it promotes responsible deficit policies. And in this day and age, it's interesting to raise the question to the people, do you think we have a responsible deficit policy? So the pitch was made to the League, essentially pre-existing values. The pitch is to the League, okay? So we had what's called a house party. That's just a local gathering of people in the local league to talk about an issue. And there are house parties on lots of different issues. So I offered one on the monetary reform. And out of that house party came a couple of people came forward and said, we really want to work on this with you. Let's submit a proposal to the state league. So we sent a proposal to offer a caucus at the 2021 league convention. That's the Ohio League now, so this is statewide. And we gave that. The topic was, why should the League care about the monetary system? A proposal for a League study. So I showed a few figures here that I used from that presentation to the statewide League. And the rationale that was presented for the study was that the monetary system has major impact on social issues of concern to the League, and how money is created is not widely understood, and the League can bring attention to this topic. And the particular relevance is that the monetary system impacts many League positions that are articulated in their volume. And in fact, you can argue that some League goals may simply be incompatible with the current monetary system. And right now, the League does not address the monetary system whatsoever in its document. So here's an opportunity to take up that issue. And in promising to do this, what I felt we had to say is not just present monetary reform, our particular view of it, but other alternatives that are out there offering themselves as partial solutions to the difficulties we face. So we promised to take up public banking, complementary or alternative currencies, MMT, central bank digital currencies, and even the gold standard, as idiotic an idea as that is. So our next steps then that we promised to take was to establish a preliminary study committee and schedule a 5-month series of educational meetings on Zoom. And through that, we would seek concurrence on a position statement from local and state League chapters. And our idea was then to get a proposal to put into the 2022 National League of Women Voters Convention. The League has a mechanism set up by which proposals like this are taken up by local leagues in this consensus process. So we will have to be very much involved with that as that moves forward. And this caucus presentation can be seen here at this website that's given here. So we invited then people from around the state, from league chapters around the state, to join with us in these virtual educational sessions. They started June 23rd. I don't know if you can read it here, but we asked how is money created? What determines where it goes? Are there changes in the monetary system that might better serve league values and positions? Well, we got a response, not as much perhaps as I would have liked, but we had several people. I think we had 18 people or something at the first session, some of whom were from around the state, some of whom were local in the Athens area from the Athens local league. So we started the presentation. The first two have already been done. So we started simply with a structure and function of the current monetary system. But within that presentation, I started with this contrast of money can be either created privately by banks as debt, or it can be created as by government as money without incurring debt. So I had these two contrasts right up at the beginning. And then in the second session, I had anticipated talking about monetary reform. But as I thought about it, the presentation of monetary reform seemed potentially dull as Dickens. You know, we'd have to put out quotes from the Need Act and so on. And I thought this was just a way to put people to sleep. So instead of doing that, what I decided to do is to trace the history, starting back in antiquity and then coming up through the Middle Ages. We used that well-known video, the Goldsmith's Tale, then on up to the Bank of England, establishing this private banks, creating money, and then on up through American history, which is really interesting. And Stephen Zarlenga's book was very helpful to me in this, as Sue undoubtedly knows. And so, I mean, the neat thing about that is it's not just the greenbacks. There was government money produced after the failure of the first U.S. bank. Madison knew he had to do that. He did. After the failure of the second bank, Martin Van Buren was kind of he was kind of a gold bug, and he didn't do anything at first, and they had a terrible crash. And then he realized he had goofed, and then he was the one who, under his leadership, there was money created to help bail out the situation then. So there has been this constant story throughout history of the conflict of these ideas between private creation of money and public creation of money. And I wanted to sow those seeds to say that this is not some new idea that's just in out of the blue. This is a fundamental idea that's been continued through our history and has been a source of struggle. So the next session is going to start to deal with some of these other systems that are short of reform. And so the one on Wednesday is about complementary currencies. And it's interesting because we just heard a very interesting talk about that from Katarina Serafimova. So that will be an interesting conversation. And the neat thing about this one is that the design of these is to realize that people don't absorb anything but a fraction of what you present in one of these. So you always have to go back and give people an opportunity to review over some of the basic stuff so they can say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I understand that. I heard that before. Or if someone has not participated in a previous section, it gives them an opportunity to essentially plug in. And the review of the first two sessions this time is going to be done by Marie Werner from Claremont, California, who has that wonderful website, Workable Economics. So here will be another voice coming from another state, and she is a member of the League of Women Voters in her state, in her area. So it's it emphasizes the fact that this is not just one voice. John Howell speaking in Athens, Ohio. This is a national concern, and there are other people involved with this movement. The next one then is going to touch on public banking. And for that, I'm going to have Pamela Haynes from the Philadelphia area talking about public banking. And we'll talk about the MMT. I will probably do that. And that's what's in that one. Then we go on to a series of 4 that are simply designed to look at the values and positions of the league. And now go back and ask the question, well, which one of these alternatives seems to serve that interest best? So all of these focus on league issues, and we're just bringing the monetary into it to see how these various proposals would either positively or negatively affect these values of the league. So the first one's going to be on democracy and economic justice, then reduction of poverty, and then environmental degradation. And then finally, the last one will be on issues of fiscal deficit and privatization, and what promise do they have for meeting the spending needs of the 21st century. So all through these, I think I'm going to be trying to elicit thinking of people involved to move toward drafting a kind of a statement that the league might take on, and we might propose at the national level for this to be a position statement to be adopted by the National League. So that's where we are right now. We're in the middle of that series. And I'm learning a lot and presenting these things. I've kind of enjoyed it because it's given me an opportunity to just study like crazy to learn about this stuff. And I like to learn and I like to teach. So it's just fun for me. So where will it go from here? Well, obviously, we hope that other league chapters in Ohio and beyond will join with us in proposing the study at the national level in 2022 that will generate position statements useful for lobbying by the lobbying staff of the league in Washington. And will we get there or not? I don't know. That's a big challenge to see if we can get enough interest and enough support nationwide in league chapters to be able to move in that direction. But I think in any case, what we will have done is to provide useful information to a lot of people. And particularly if they go ahead and hold study sessions, and we obviously are willing to be of any help we can to other league chapters to do this. So that's where we are with it. And I just want to point out that it's really helpful to have others join in our local efforts. And Marie Werner is going to be on the next one, and Virginia and Carly both joined us for the last one. And Virginia's I'm trying to work Virginia into the schedule again to be able to say more. And Pamela Haynes will be coming in. And I'd also like to thank my local Athens committee members, and they're Mary Costello, Debbie Schmeeding, and Suzanne Howell. It's a small group, but they have been extremely supportive. And so we've been able to move forward with this. So that's it. I'm open to any questions. So I'll quit the screen sharing if I can figure out how to do it. Yeah. So
I think we'll hold questions to the end so we hear from everybody. And next up will be Mary on the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. You have to unmute, Mary. Yeah, there you go.
Hello, everybody. Yes.
Hello, grandson.
Yeah, say hi.
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 All right, thank you, John, so much. I love how structured and organized John is, and I know the league is very structured and organized, and they can make statements like that. The Women's International League for Peace and Freedom is also 100 years old, but it's kind of more rambly and wide-ranging, and the many local branches do a lot of their own local things. And I myself am not that structured either. So mine is a different story. One moment, please. Go by Grandpa, please, right now.
Bye.
I grew up hearing about the Federal Reserve System concentrating money and wealth to an ever tinier elite, but I tended to ignore my farmer father's rants. But the older I get, the smarter he turned out to be. At a conference in 2017, I met many of the people that you may be meeting today. Their understanding and passion about the central money problem resonated with my farm background. When I learned that the American Monetary Institute had advanced this work to the point of sponsoring legislation with Dennis Kucinich, I needed to share my excitement with my friends in the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom. WILP has been my activism home for 40 years, and I know WILP women to be both curious and brave. I took monetary reform first to my Madison branch. We are focused on local struggles for fair voting maps in Wisconsin, resisting toxic pipelines, big new jail, and F-35s. So there's not much bandwidth for fixing the unseen, esoteric problem of private money creation. I do try to highlight the connections between our concrete problems and the need for just money. And my Madison sisters do support me. Then I took it to, excuse me. Go outside my grandpa, please. Then I took it to the WILP National Committee called Women, Money, and Democracy. The Women, Money, and Democracy National Committee of WILP. There, we are pulling back the curtain on the money system. And my goal, different from John's getting specific concrete proposals, my goal is to bring the attention of these thoughtful, brave women to this topic that is all new and different to them. So pulling back the curtain on the money system and a little bit on the perverse money creation system. I admit it's hard going. In the first place, we all have to jump the econo-speak barrier to engage our minds with money and finance at all. Then we have our women's mental blocks about money. For example, I remember learning as a girl to politely look away from a restaurant bill. It took me a pretty long time to appreciate the benefits of going Dutch. Committee member Ricky Gard Diamond's funny and well-informed articles in Ms. Magazine are helping women get over our reluctance to look money straight in the eye. So our committee asks, with the Women's International League, peace and freedom. We ask why peace and justice seem such impossible goals when everyone basically wants them. And I always suggest the money creation system. Well, the money creation system is a big dark cloud, and sovereign just money is a shocking new concept. WILP members have worked hard and passionately to advance public banking in California. Most think that starting regional public banks everywhere has a better chance of success than nationalizing the Fed. I deeply admire how public banking campaigns raise people's awareness of the entrenched parasitic system, and I consider both approaches to be helpful. Still, because we propose to take away banks' license to create money by lending, I have sometimes felt like the cat who proudly drops a wiggly mouse on the kitchen floor. We're laughing about it and we keep talking. The rich learning that we do together energizes me, and we have some accomplishments to report. We're working on a white paper to show how debt drives war. And this is a challenging research project for this group. Another thing, two WILP members joined the Web of Debt book club that the Alliance for Just Money hosted. In March, our feminist economics ally and Economy of Our Own, AEOO, invited me to share a Zoom panel with public banking maven Ellen Brown. Social worker and author Dorothy Van Soest was keen to understand how scarcity is a built-in feature of the current money creation system. And she invited me to co-author an article for the Peace and Freedom magazine. We deliberately titled it, Money Creation is a Form of Violence. In August, our chair, Mary Beth Gardam, and Dorothy and I will present a panel bringing this shocking new concept of just money to more WILF members at the US Triennial Congress. And our bold title will be Changing the Purpose and Intent of Money. Altogether, grateful for this work. I recommend it if you belong to some circle of curious and brave individuals. Start talking about money creation with them. For me, it is as rewarding as it is challenging. Over.
Thank you so much, Mary. It was powerful and lovely. We're going to move on to Sue Peters, who I think has some slides to share and needs to unmute. She will be the transition between the externally focused organizations, which she'll talk about first, and then she's secondly talking about work going on inside the Alliance itself to expand the Alliance.
Oh, here we go. Can you see it?
Yes, and people
Okay.
can make it the size they want on their own.
Okay. So, hello, I'm Sue Peters here in my two hats. And I love this picture. I love children because they are the spirit of curiosity and humanity, and they're there to absorb. And I would like to give them a country that allows them all to do that from birth on. So the two things I'm going to talk about is I'm a member of the Green Party US, and we have in the US Green Party a standing committee called the Banking and Monetary Reform Committee, BMRC. I just call it the Banking Committee. So I'm going to talk to you about its history, how it became existent, and the newsletter that we put out every month. And then I'm going to talk to you about the membership committee of the Alliance, the advocate program, and some facts about what we're offering. Okay. Let's see if it works. I don't know. What do I do to get it go forward?
The bottom left of your screen, you should be able to advance. If you hover over the bottom left of your PowerPoint.
I don't see anything.
Well, hover there or just hit your forward.
Hit your down arrow.
Oh, there. Yeah, thank you, Steve. I got that. Okay.
It didn't advance for us though.
Oh.
Did you advance it?
Yeah, it should say greening the dollar.
It does not. It's you're advancing.
Oh, it says your screen sharing is paused.
Yeah, unpause it then. Yeah.
How do I unpause it? Oh dear. Resume share. How's that?
There. Yes, that's it.
Okay.
And now you have to do slideshow again.
I don't usually have this kind of prompt.
And but this time hit from current slide. Next one, not that one. Next. Yeah, there.
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay. So this is our little mascot for our newsletter for the committee. And as you say, it says the newsletter of the Banking and Monetary Reform Committee, Green Party US. Okay, now hopefully I can just go forward with this. Okay, this is a little history because this is very important because the Green Party US is the only party in the United States that has real monetary reform in the platform. So how did it get there? Missouri Greens, Ben Gelsis and Dee Berry met and heard Stephen Zarlanga give a talk on monetary reform in Kansas City, Missouri. And Dee said, I was impressed with what I heard and saw the fit with the Green Party. Then they worked together, and actually they heard Stephen twice over the years, okay? Then they decided to work with Stephen to educate Greens and add greening the dollar, true monetary reform, to the national platform. Dee said, the monetary system is an invisible system. People are made to think they can't understand it. Ben said, the Greens have a systems approach for serious problems. The AMI message can contribute tremendously. Okay. What happened was, before the committee was even started, but after the platform was updated in 2010 with greening the dollar, true monetary reform, from around 2013 to 2015, a group of us, monetary reformers from the AMI, got together and we created this website, Greens for Monetary Reform, which I feel is so important to give the basics to anyone who's trying to figure out, well, tell me a little bit about this. So it has the problem solution and it has the transition. You can go on the website. It's one word, greensformonetaryreform.org. And it has the 3 steps: nationalize the 12 Federal Reserve banks under solution, end bank creation of money, and the federal government creates and spends money for the needs of the nation. Okay. So we put that together. It was a lot of fun. We met, I don't know how, I forget how often, every week or something. We had a lot of help from people on the committee who were designers. I think it's just a beautiful website, and who wrote all the copy. Okay. So why do I have this here? Hold on, I got to get rid of this a second. Okay. Now, so here we were, Greens in the Green Party, with this monetary reform on the platform, true monetary reform. And we had this website. And lo and behold, in 2018, MMT proponents pushed to eliminate everything in the GPUS platform that had anything to do with monetary reform. There were 9 different addendums that they sent in. And I'll just add, the state party that sent them in, the 2 members of the state party that sent them in, who ended up not voting for anything because they didn't know what MMT was. And they had people in their state party that were feeding them these amendments. Okay, so we fought back and we won. MMT changes were voted down, all of them, by the National Committee of the GPUS. There's a discussion of like 2 to 3 weeks on the National Committee, and we were there teaching them why MMT did not make sense and what did make sense, our platform. So after that, sort of in the middle of it, I get a call one day from Rita Jacobs, who's a Green in Michigan. And she says to me, Sue, we need to have a standing committee. We need to have this committee in the party to defend this platform going forward. And so through the help of her and other people in our group, we organized and got it passed by the National Party to have a new standing committee, the BMRC. It was great group of people. And what we did in the last year, I guess, we added to the website, Greens for Monetary Reform, which our committee has adopted, we added the newsletter. So every month, people on the committee write articles and they get published in the newsletter and they get sent to those Greens on the national list that want something from our committee. And I think now, I mean, if Howard's here, he might be able to say, I think there's like around 300, I don't know, around 300 people that get it. Okay. Okay, and I'll just end by saying I am having such an incredible experience with this newsletter because I'm writing a series of articles called the Money Matrix, and I'm going into each different part of American society and history with these articles. You can see part 3 was in June. It was the Money Matrix, U.S. education from 1892 to 1914. And the next July one, which is coming out, I think it just came out, is the U.S. education from 1914 to 1954. But I'm just going to go down there. There's going to be information about the money matrix and media, the money matrix and the security state, all of this stuff. And it's blowing my mind what I'm learning. And everything's sourced. I have source for people to go and actually read themselves what I've been reading. Okay. The second thing is the Membership and Movement Committee Advocate Program. Okay, so there's a subcommittee. We're developing this program. We've been working together. So, what's an advocate? An advocate is someone new to monetary reform, but wants to share what they are learning with their community. So, we feel strongly that people, and this is what happened to me, I learned as I was teaching others. And it was a major experience in my life. I was very excited about it, but you really do learn if you teach people. So if you're interested in that, or if you just want to share some knowledge that around our mission for the Alliance, fine. An advocate agrees to the following: that we have a memo of understanding. And in it, they're going to say that they support the Alliance mission, and then that they support the 3 elements for real monetary reform, and then that they will continually expand their knowledge of monetary reform. So that's what an advocate agrees to. The mentor is more experienced with monetary reform and offers support to the advocate, such as we're going to eventually we're going to have part of the website for the Alliance for the mentors, but we can share, for now, we can share it through email, etc. So resources, we're going to have suggested resources such as books, and this is beginning stuff. This is not, academic stuff. This is like the conceptual understanding of the history of the system, etc. So books, videos, articles, and then we will offer support to the advocate, phone calls, email, whatever works for them and for us, right? And we will also provide talks to the advocate in their community as needed if the advocate would like that. It's really up to the advocate. So here's like a video of John's League of Women Voters that they could show to somebody, groups in their community. We have a lot of PowerPoints with introductory concepts, with pictures. Here's Marinette Eccles. That is what our money system is. If there were no debts in our money system, there wouldn't be any money. And that's coming from an authoritative source. As well as, I always love this one, Robert Anderson, Secretary of the Treasury, 57 to 61. Now, you can't get any higher than the Secretary of the Treasury, right? When a bank makes a loan, it simply adds to the borrower's deposit account in the bank by the amount of the loan. The money is not taken from anyone else's deposit. It's new money created by the bank for the use of the borrower. So this is the kind of basic conceptual stuff that will be in these kinds of materials that we'll be supplying to the advocates. And book suggestions. Now, I don't want the advocates to get scared by Stephen's 700, 800 page book, but we do have,
keep it moving now, Sue, okay?
Okay.
We're running out of time.
Okay, but we do have quotes from Stephen's book and different parts of it that they can look at. The end.
So sorry, I stopped. Perfect. Thank you so much, Sue. That was great. Very twofold, different parts, and both your work. So
all the people that are helping.
Absolutely. So we're going to move back to Mary briefly, who's going to talk about internal work, and then Carly as well. Mary, did your grandson let you go? Go ahead, Mary.
For a minute, I think, yeah. So the Spanish language ad hoc group started at the International Movement for Monetary Reform meeting formally, and thanks to Hobart Schuller. Before that, well, the idea of it came from the 2020 annual meeting, came from the fact that AFJM published a Spanish language anthology last October called Democratizar el Dinero, una introducción a la reforma del dinero soberano, which is democratizing money. And it has articles in there by Huber and Kumoff and Mary Millar, and just a nice selection of articles translated into Spanish for people in that big universe who may start to be interested and curious. So Hobart started these meetings hoping that, you know, people would come together and start to form an agenda. There have been 5 Zoom meetings of the ad hoc group, with attendance varying between 4 and 10 persons from Spain, from Latin America, and the United States. So far, the goals are to share information about the money systems in our different countries and to promote just money everywhere. The group has its own dedicated webpage, which I'm sure someone will post right now on the AFJM website to help Spanish speakers find each other and find us. The group is hoping to host an AFJM coffee house this fall to invite other Spanish speakers to the conversation about money reform. Jesus Sueste is the man who translated articles and who wrote a wonderful prologue for the anthology, and he has agreed to facilitate if we can have a coffee house in Spanish. Pretty much that's how far we've gotten. Honestly, Hobart has been the lead on this, and I'm sort of in transition to see if I can help. That's what I have to offer at this time. Over.
Thank you, Mary. It's been great work, and we need to draw in the Latinx community in the US even more into it. Carly.
Yes, so I kind of took a different approach here, but yes, my name is Carly, pronouns she and they. So I attended my first Alliance for Just Money gathering at last year's annual membership meeting, so coming full circle. I knew the fight for just money was the fight for me. My background in social and environmental justice has been a lifelong passion of mine. So when I learned about just money, I recognized the relationship between our current money system and the movements that I'm so passionate about. And once you know something, it's hard to go back. So even though I was in a space where, as a queer person, a young person, no offense to anyone in the room, and a woman identifying person, I was made to feel out of place. So I decided to stay. I knew that meant it would be challenging, and I also knew that there was no way I could avoid it. So as I attended coffee houses, I would raise my voice and listen for those who had similar beliefs and ideas as me. And one person that stood out early on was Jeff Eder from Progressive Money Canada, who introduced me to the wonderful Chris Grayson Gato. So Chris and I met over Zoom in November of last year, and we both agreed we needed a space where us younger, relatively speaking, folks could gather and strategize. And by January, we felt like we had a solid handful of like-minded people, and we met over Zoom for our first social event as the Alliance for Just Money Youth Caucus. We set community guidelines, the same guidelines that I've shared throughout the festival. And we discussed as a group how we wanted to spend our time together. We all agreed that there is an urgency for Just Money to be a movement. And much of our time is spent on the strategy to make this happen. It's crucial within movements for people with similar experiences, whether it's race, gender, age, abilities, interests, you name it. We need to be able to connect on that personal level so we can put our minds together in meaningful ways. And through these support networks, members can feel more inspired to get involved and be active contributors to the cause. I have seen that play out in the Youth Caucus as we have members who are involved in various committees, staff member, someone who is now on the board. Without the Youth Caucus, we may not have stuck around or gotten involved in the capacities that we are in now. The Youth Caucus, some of the things that the Youth Caucus does is we help promote our social media accounts, which includes the launch of our Instagram. We also participated in the production of the Just Money Festival, and we look forward to what is to come for the Youth Caucus. So I believe Alfonso shared in the chat our invite to our Slack channel if you want to join the Youth Caucus. We are looking for members under the age of 50, but I really just want to stress the importance that within movements that you find people that you can connect with, because when you get into that space, beautiful things can happen, and that's my piece.
Thank you so very much, Carly. Super powerful. And thank you to all the panelists. If we're going to keep to our time schedule, we don't have a lot of time for questions and answers or comments, but I would invite all of you to maybe pause for a moment and just take a silent minute, I'll time us, to think about what you just heard, and then please raise your Zoom hand and we'll take a few comments. I think I see a hand from Joe. So go ahead, Joe Bongiovanni.
Okay, so I just had a question for John, because that's such a great, process that he's got going on there. And I was wondering if in the discussion of all of those kind of points, if there was a consideration, if you will, of the root of the monetary commission with regard to trying to get an answer, how to go about getting an answer to some of those questions for a group such as the League. I'm just curious how did that play in there?
Well, it's interesting, Joe, that you asked that, because, one of the things that Virginia came up with in these earlier discussions, and she was thinking that an inquiry should be done through the people as well as through the government, through a monetary commission. And in a sense, I regard this effort with the League as sort of consistent with what Virginia was pushing. That is to say, the idea, let's have people in society and groups in society analyzing this kind of thing. So, and at least it's an organization that has the potential to do something nationally, since it's a national organization. But as far as specifically recommending the National Monetary Commission, I think that's one of several potential position statements that could come out of this. I mean, I don't know exactly where this will go because it's a consensus process within the League. I'm obviously hoping it'll go toward monetary reform, but it may also, there may be a positive response to public banking. That may happen. And so we'll have to see how this conversation comes out. But it will be an inquiry that will be open to a variety of views in the process. And, my personal point of view is the strongest point of view is monetary reform. But I recognize the value of some of these other things, particularly that can be done locally, much as Katarina was talking about this afternoon, and public banking. So I see those as possible synergists to what we're trying to do.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, John. Howard, you have a question? You need to unmute.
I actually didn't have a question, but I just wanted to say I was excited to hear about Carly's, the youth group getting together, and wanted to make sure you're all heard. And I know you have access to tremendous resources here in the Alliance, and be sure to take full advantage of them. And I'm thinking that there's presentations that many of us have done too, that you might be able to use yourself to put together presentations for the youth, and wish you all the luck in the world getting out there with the message and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Howard. Fernanda, Lugo, I'm probably not getting the name right.
I was just raising my thumb in agreement, but I mean, since you called on me, I just want to say that this has been a great learning experience so far, and I do want to look forward to working with the Youth Caucus.
Fabulous. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Before I see if there's another hand, I just want to say as I said somewhere during this day, I mean, I've taught for the last 20 years undergrads. In fact, I worked with Carly in that capacity, and there are so many out there, and I expose them to this content, but mining them, it's not quite the right word, mining, but reaching out and speaking in ways that reach and teach, and the time to do that. So I've told the board, and I'll tell this group too, I've loved, and it's been an honor to be president, but I really am stepping down from the president role to do other kind of local outreach work on this macro level issue. And I hope to be channeling more under 50s. I was saying it was under 40. So we've, defined youth. I miss it, but anyhow, I got a bunch of under 50s, that's for sure. So, Stephen?
I may be looking for a group, I guess, that's instead of Youth Caucus, maybe the Gray Caucus or the Gray Panthers or something. But there's a lot of great Gray Panthers in this group, but I wish I was younger and have the time I have available now. There's so much to do, and I've absorbed as best I can last night and today, and I've really appreciated everything. It's settling in, Science Story Forum. maybe there could be a group playing with it. You know, if I could jump in, maybe there could be a presentation on that from people at the AMI conference in the fall, or maybe someone like Lucille or others could invite Katrina to go to the next step. That I think Lucille is bringing in a wonderful conversation with Katrina towards the end. And there's a lot more dialogue that needs to take place. But your sister organization, AMI, looks forward to working with everybody here. And for you to, both organizations will be one, I'm sure, one day in some way or another. So, but thank you. And John inspired me to have my work with the local Women's Voters League here. And if people have time available, there's a group here from Illinois. I'm available, and I'd like to do things in person and online for everybody else. So thank you very much for a great last night, and I'll look forward to a beer pretty soon. Or something.
Okay, thank you. I see one more hand from Mary. Oh no, that was the clapping. Yeah, Mary's clapping. So I think we are at the time.
Lucille?
Yeah.
Can I just say something?
Yes, go right ahead.
Is it possible to clone you?
No.
Darn it.
But yeah, we can do the work to, yeah, I get your joke. I'm not going to comment. I want to, we have a poll that we're asking people to do. If you can take a moment before we all go and get that beer that Stephen was referencing and come back. This has been a long day. Many of you have all been here, but we have a party, a cultural fest. We're going to hear some music, some of what we didn't hear from Howard this morning, and plus more. And would encourage you all to bring anything you want to share back, and bring your drink. But before you leave, I'm going to launch this poll. It will be very quick, and everybody who's not a co-host can do it. And it's just to collect a little data from you about your interests in what we talked about, and we're hoping to follow up. So if you don't want to take the time to do it, each question has an NA at the bottom, non-applicable. Just hit NA and then you can submit it, and you'll get your drink. So thank you very much, all of you, all the panelists, and all of you who are here today.